Hello, esteemed gentlemen. The moment you stop trying to fit in, the system marks you as a threat. Let that sink in. Because while the world is obsessed with fitting the mold, following trends, and collecting likes like Pokemon cards, there's a rare breed that quietly walks away from the herd, not because they can't keep up, but because they already see where the herd is headed. Off a cliff. Sigma males don't care about what 99% of people live and die for. They're not trying to be relatable, likable, or on brand. They'd rather be misunderstood than manipulated. Here's a cold fact. According to behavioral research, over 85% of people adjust their beliefs based on social approval, not truth. Sigma males? They're the 15% who would rather burn bridges than walk one built on lies. And while the world posts selfies with their insecurities masked as confidence, Sigma males ghost the stage entirely and rewrite the play backstage. So what are these things everyone else obsessively chases, praises, and defends, but Sigma males couldn't care less about? You're about to find out. And spoiler alert, if you identify with even half of what's coming, you're probably not weird. You're just not programmable, which in this world is both dangerous and legendary. Let's dive in. Number 1. Validation through romantic chaos. Most people anchor their identity to who loves them, how much attention they get, and how desirable they appear in someone else's eyes. Their emotional highs and lows are tied to romantic drama, text replies, relationship labels, Instagram stories, who's watching, who's not. Love becomes a performance, and chaos becomes the proof that it's real. They crave the emotional roller coaster because it makes them feel alive, worthy, validated. But Sigma males, they're not addicted to the ride. They stand outside the theme park and light a cigarette while everyone else screams on the tracks. For Sigma males, romantic chaos is noise, an uninvited distraction from the mission. They don't need someone else's desire to feel valuable. Their identity isn't up for auction to the highest bidder with a good jawline and clever emojis. They don't chase love for completion because they're already complete. That's what makes them so unnerving to most people. You can't control someone who doesn't need your affection to function. It's not that Sigma males are emotionally unavailable. It's that they don't depend on emotion to determine direction. They can love deeply, but without obsession, without ownership, and without drama. They don't confuse chemistry with chaos. They don't interpret jealousy as passion, and they'll walk away from the hottest romance of their life if it starts messing with their inner peace. Love, for them, is a bonus, not a lifeline. That's why manipulation doesn't work on them. Guilt trips, passive-aggressive silence, emotional bait, none of it lands. You can't seduce a Sigma male with approval, flattery, or the promise of being chosen, because he didn't enter the relationship to be chosen. He entered it knowing he'd still be whole if it ended. Where others use love to fill a hole in their identity, Sigma males use solitude to reinforce theirs. They aren't moved by who wants them. They're moved by what aligns with them. And if it doesn't, they won't fight, argue, or beg. They'll just vanish, with zero bitterness and zero need for closure. Because for a Sigma male, romantic validation is optional, but self-respect is law. Number 2. The vanity of reinvention arcs. Most people are addicted to telling the world how much they've changed. They need the public transformation arc, the big reveal, the emotional backstory, the inspirational comeback. They post the before and after photos, the trauma to triumph tweets, and long paragraphs about how they've finally found themselves. But here's the thing. Sigma males don't need an audience for their evolution. They don't treat self-growth like a marketing campaign. They don't owe the world an explanation, a timeline, or a transformation story. When a Sigma male changes, no one hears about it. He just disappears, upgrades in the shadows, and reappears on a completely different frequency. This throws people off. One day, they think they know who he is. Maybe the quiet guy in the corner, maybe the misunderstood loner, maybe the guy who kept to himself. And then suddenly he's sharper, more powerful, more untouchable. But never loud about it. No warnings, no soft launches, just silence, then impact. That's the difference. Most people evolve loudly to prove something. Sigma males evolve quietly because they have nothing to prove. The world is obsessed with external validation. People want their growth to be seen, applauded, certified. They talk about their healing era and how they've cut toxic people off like it's some badge of honor. But Sigma males know growth doesn't need witnesses, it needs isolation. Real transformation doesn't look like a movie montage. It looks like uncomfortable solitude, brutal self-reflection, and walking away from everything that once felt safe. And you don't post that, you survive it. Then you emerge with a sharper mind, stronger boundaries, and zero interest in explaining how you got there. This quiet reinvention is what makes Sigma males unpredictable and hard to categorize. Society hates that. People want you to stay in one box. They want to recognize your labels, know your routine, track your steps. Sigma males burn the blueprint entirely. They reinvent so privately and completely that by the time people catch up, they're chasing a version of him that doesn't exist anymore. That's not drama, that's power, and it terrifies people who rely on being seen to feel real. Sigma males don't evolve to be noticed, they evolve to be unstoppable. Number 3, tribal popularity metrics, followers, blue checks, status badges. Most people are trapped in a digital popularity contest they don't even realize they signed up for. They obsess over follower counts, verification badges, comment sections, and algorithm approval like it's currency for self-worth. Their value is tied to visibility. If it's not public, it doesn't count. They'll bend their personalities to fit trends, hijack causes for clout, and water down their opinions just to be liked by strangers they'll never meet. It's not influence, it's desperation wearing a digital filter. Sigma males see right through this illusion. They're not interested in collecting attention. They're interested in building leverage. While the world fights for online recognition, Sigma males operate in a different lane, one where silence is strength and anonymity is a weapon. They don't need digital trophies to feel powerful. They're focused on results, not applause. You won't see them chasing blue checks or viral validation because they know influence without autonomy is just a louder form of control. It's just slavery in high definition. A Sigma male could have 10 followers and still own the room, because his power doesn't come from numbers. It comes from presence, skill, and independence. He doesn't answer to the crowd, doesn't cater to algorithms, and doesn't shrink himself to fit into social hierarchies designed to keep people obedient and addicted. That's what most people miss. Popularity is often a cage disguised as success. The more liked you are, the more pressure you feel to stay likable. The more visible you become, the more permission you give others to dictate your worth. Sigma males reject that contract entirely. They don't just unplug from the game, they rewrite the rules. Their currency isn't likes or retweets, it's freedom. Freedom to think without censorship. Freedom to move without explanation. Freedom to build power that no one can take from them because it was never handed to them in the first place. You can't cancel what you can't control. And Sigma males, they never asked for your approval. That's why they're untouchable. Number 4, the grind porn of hustle culture. Hustle culture has turned burnout into a badge of honor. People brag about 4 a.m. wake-ups, back-to-back meetings, and how they're always grinding. They flood their feeds with time-stamped proof that they're suffering for their success, like exhaustion equals legitimacy. But most of it's theater. It's not about impact. It's about being seen hustling. Productivity has become performance art, and everyone's trying to outsuffer each other in public. Sigma males don't play that game. They have nothing to prove and no interest in glamorizing struggle. You won't catch them announcing how little sleep they got or how full their calendar is. They don't worship effort, they worship results. While others are addicted to motion, Sigma males are obsessed with precision. They don't do busy work, they do the exact work that matters in the least amount of time possible. And then they vanish. That's why they seem invisible. While hustle addicts are running in circles for applause, Sigma males are executing in silence. No dopamine hits from notifications. No humble brags. Just calculated action, done with ruthless focus. Their success often catches people off guard because it's not loud, it's not messy, and it's not advertised. It's surgical. This infuriates hustle culture disciples who equate suffering with superiority. To them, if you're not visibly killing yourself for your goals, you must not be serious. But Sigma males know that most people aren't grinding. They're just masking poor time management with overexertion. Being always busy is often just an excuse for avoiding clarity. Sigma males don't confuse activity with progress. They streamline, eliminate, and execute, then disappear into solitude to recharge, not for rest, but for recalibration. Their approach isn't just efficient, it's dangerous, because it produces results without dependency. No teams hyping them, no managers micromanaging them, no mentors hand-holding them. Just one mind, one mission, and zero wasted motion. So while the world idolizes the grind, Sigma males quietly master the game and move on, leaving behind nothing but results, confusion, and the undeniable fact that real power doesn't announce itself, it delivers. Number 5, public mourning for cancel culture casualties. In today's outrage-hungry culture, people treat public takedowns like sport. The second someone gets canceled, the masses split into two predictable camps: the defenders who scream redemption and the executioners who scream justice. It's less about the actual offense and more about showing the world what team you're on. The average person jumps into the chaos not because they genuinely care, but because outrage is social currency. If you're not furious, you're irrelevant. Sigma males don't play that game. When the mob lights its next target on fire, they don't rush to grab a torch or a hashtag. They step back. They observe, not out of apathy, but because they know these public pylons have less to do with morality and more to do with manipulation. Cancel culture isn't justice, it's theater, a power game disguised as virtue, and Sigma males refuse to be pawns in it. They see how easily people weaponize morality to elevate themselves. It's rarely about accountability and more about dominance. Who can scream the loudest, virtue signal the hardest, and destroy the fastest? Sigma males see this clearly. They're not distracted by the surface drama. They look for the invisible strings: who benefits, who controls the narrative, and who's building power while everyone else is arguing. And here's what really separates them. Sigma males are allergic to herd emotions. They don't jump on emotional bandwagons even when they're trending. They question the outrage. They dissect the motives. They know that once society decides someone's fate based on Twitter consensus, truth no longer matters. Only spectacle does. And they don't dance for the spectacle. That doesn't mean Sigma males condone bad behavior. It means they refuse to moral grandstand for likes and fake applause. They deal with complexity in private. They don't need to declare their values with every trending controversy, because real principles don't need an audience. So while everyone else is out there signaling allegiance through outrage, Sigma males stay in the shadows, thinking critically, speaking rarely, and watching the power structure rearrange itself behind the curtain. And when the dust settles, they're still standing, uncancelled, unreadable, and completely uncaptured. Number 6, status via shared misery, victim Olympics. There's a growing trend where pain is currency. The more oppressed, hurt, or broken someone appears, the more attention and validation they receive. It's become a twisted competition: who's suffered more, who can articulate their trauma better, who can turn their wounds into a performance. In this game, victimhood isn't something to overcome, it's something to brand and monetize. Society has turned shared misery into a social ladder. If you've got the right scars, people listen. If not, you're invisible. But Sigma males don't play in the victim Olympics, not because they haven't suffered, but because they refuse to weaponize their pain for popularity. They see the trap clearly. Once you tie your identity to your trauma, you become loyal to it. You become scared to heal because healing might make you irrelevant. That's the dark side no one talks about. Misery can be addictive when it comes with applause. Sigma males choose the opposite route. They suffer in silence, not out of pride, but out of power. Their pain isn't for public display, it's for private refinement. They don't broadcast every struggle or beg for sympathy. Not because they don't feel it, but because they know turning pain into a spectacle dilutes its lesson. They'd rather process their damage privately than package it for public consumption. This refusal to share in the collective emotional showcase often confuses people. It can even offend them. Others interpret their silence as arrogance, coldness, or lack of empathy. But they're wrong. Sigma males feel deeply. They just don't need witnesses to validate their depth. And they damn sure don't need suffering to give them identity. Their worth isn't built on how broken they are, it's built on how many times they've rebuilt themselves in silence. While the rest of the world bonds over wounds, Sigma males build themselves quietly in the shadows. No tragic captions, no dramatic confessions, just a quiet, brutal process of turning pain into precision. And when they emerge stronger, they don't demand applause. They simply keep walking, stronger, quieter, and entirely free from the addiction of performative suffering. Number 7. Fake intellectualism, quote warriors and TED Talk junkies. We live in a world drowning in surface-level wisdom. People drop quotes like grenades in conversation, hoping to sound profound. They binge-watch TED Talks, repost digestible life hacks, and repeat the same philosophical one-liners they heard from their favorite influencer last week. It's not knowledge. It's cosplay, a performance of intellect. Just enough to impress at brunch or on a dating app bio, but never enough to threaten the system or transform the self. This is what Sigma males reject with every fiber of their being. They don't care how many books you've skimmed or how eloquently you can regurgitate Naval Ravikant. They don't chase curated intelligence because they know real wisdom doesn't come from echoing, it comes from enduring. Solitude is their classroom, silence is their textbook, and reflection is their final exam. Sigma males don't read to be trendy. They read to challenge their own bias. They don't listen to thinkers to feel smart. They do it to dissect, disagree, and evolve. They're allergic to intellectual echo chambers. If something becomes too popular, they automatically question its depth. If a quote is repeated too often, they know it's lost its bite. This is why they come off as unpredictable. You can't pin them down with conventional ideologies or groupthink dogma. They form their beliefs slowly, dangerously, and independently, and that's terrifying in a culture where people rely on group consensus to feel valid. Sigma males would rather be wrong alone than be right with 1,000 parrots. They don't virtue signal through intellectualism. They're not interested in quoting Marcus Aurelius unless they've bled through the idea themselves. They don't pretend to be stoic. They suffer through their own chaos until stillness is earned. And when they speak, it's not borrowed. It's forged. You can feel the weight of solitude behind their words. So while everyone else is busy collecting sound bites to impress and posture, Sigma males are somewhere far away, thinking original thoughts, having arguments with themselves, and returning with truth that no crowd ever approved but every mind should fear. Number 8. Mutual validation. Friendships. Most friendships today are built like fragile support groups, echo chambers where everyone gently validates each other's insecurities, bad decisions, and half-baked beliefs. People surround themselves with those who make them feel comfortable, not those who make them grow. Disagreement is seen as betrayal. Accountability? Too harsh. Growth? Only if it doesn't hurt anyone's feelings. So instead of evolving, they stay stuck, soothing each other with recycled affirmations and emotionally safe nonsense. Sigma males don't have the patience for that kind of friendship. To them, a relationship that exists only to maintain emotional comfort is a slow death of the mind. They don't crave companionship for the sake of not being alone. They crave intellectual friction, psychological challenge, and the rare presence of someone who actually sees through the bullshit. If a friendship doesn't sharpen them, stretch them, or reveal new dimensions of thought, they quietly disappear. They don't do the group therapy masquerading as friendship. They don't want cheerleaders, they want contenders. People who can challenge their assumptions without ego, call out their blind spots without guilt-tripping, and bring original thought to the table. The minute a connection turns into a comfort zone built on mutual validation, they lose interest. Because to a Sigma male, anything that doesn't evolve you is secretly draining you. This is why they're often seen as loners or cold. They're not. They just refuse to lower their mental standards for company. They'd rather be alone with their own brutal truths than surrounded by people who only offer soft lies. Sigma males don't fear loneliness. They fear mental stagnation. That's what makes their solitude powerful, because they don't use it to escape the world, but to outgrow it. And when they do find someone worth keeping around, it's never out of convenience or validation. It's because that person brings value, depth, and earned respect, not just emotional reassurance. So while most people are clinging to circles that keep them stagnant, Sigma males walk alone until someone shows up who doesn't just reflect them, but refines them. Number 9. Being seen as nice or agreeable. In today's world, being nice is currency. People bend, dilute, and soften their edges just to be more digestible. They say what's expected, smile when they're uncomfortable, and agree just enough to stay in everyone's good graces. Their self-worth is tied to being liked, and their identity is shaped by external comfort zones. But nice is often just code for non-threatening. It's not about character, it's about control. And Sigma males have zero interest in being controllable. They don't strive to be liked, not because they're rude, but because likability is often a mask that hides obedience. Society trains people to seek approval by being agreeable, predictable, easy to categorize. But Sigma males would rather be seen as difficult than dull. They'll tell you the truth no one else will say. They'll challenge your beliefs if they think they're lazy. And they won't fake a smile to keep the peace, especially when the peace is just avoidance dressed up as harmony. To a Sigma male, being nice is a trap. The more likable you are, the more people feel entitled to shape you. You get boxed in by your own politeness, expected to stay consistent and agreeable, never shake things up. Sigma males reject that leash completely. They're not unpredictable for the sake of rebellion. They're unpredictable because they're not governed by anyone's expectations but their own, and that unsettles people who depend on social validation to feel secure. This is why Sigma males often come off as blunt, aloof, or even intimidating. But they're not trying to be edgy. They're just unwilling to trade authenticity for approval. They know that being liked often means becoming easy to read, easy to manage, easy to manipulate. And nothing turns them off more than predictability. Predictability is the death of freedom, and Sigma males worship freedom above all. They don't measure their worth by how many people like them. They measure it by how free they are to speak, think, and act without filtering themselves through someone else's comfort. And if that makes them unlikable to the world, good. That means they're doing it right. Number 10. Being the loudest in the room. The world has this obsession with volume. The louder, flashier, and more dramatic you are, the more attention and respect you supposedly command. People mistake noise for authority, believing that the biggest voice wins the room. Conferences, parties, and social feeds celebrate the extroverted peacock who struts and squawks for spotlight, measuring power in decibels. But Sigma males, they flip the script entirely. They know real power isn't a megaphone, it's a stillness that unsettles. They don't need to fill silence with noise because their presence already fills the room. It's not about being heard, it's about being felt. They can command attention without raising their voice, without theatrics, without desperate attempts to prove themselves. The quiet confidence they exude is disarming, making others instinctively lean in, wondering what's beneath the calm surface. This stillness is powerful because it disrupts the norm. In a culture where everyone is shouting to be seen, Sigma males become the eye of the storm. Their silence creates tension, uncertainty, and curiosity. People instinctively try to read them, to decode the mystery, but that's the point. They refuse to be predictable or owned by the noise. They don't compete with volume, they nullify it. When a Sigma male does speak, it carries weight. It's not filler, it's a command. It forces listeners to pay attention because it's rare, deliberate, and grounded in unshakable self-possession. That's the difference. While the extroverted peacock exhausts itself trying to prove value, the Sigma male knows his worth is inherent. He doesn't need to broadcast it, it simply is. This quiet dominance unsettles people who rely on loudness to mask insecurity. It confuses those who assume presence equals performance. But Sigma males don't perform, they are. And that's a kind of power that no volume can drown out. Number 11. Reputation management theater. Most people spend their lives in a frantic dance, desperately trying to curate, polish, and protect their image. Every word, every action is calculated with an eye on how it will be perceived, dissected, and judged. They build reputations like fragile glass houses, careful not to crack under the slightest criticism. Social media profiles become carefully edited highlight reels, and any misstep sparks panic-fueled damage control. The fear of misunderstanding or backlash becomes a constant, exhausting companion. Sigma males don't live in that prison. They understand that reputation is often a trap, a cage built by other people's opinions. They let misunderstandings flow around them like water off a stone. They don't chase approval or spend energy defending their character because they know that real power is immune to opinion. It doesn't shift with public sentiment or sway with trends. It's anchored in something deeper, unwavering self-possession. This indifference to reputation management drives others crazy. They can't fathom how someone could be so unconcerned with what people think. But to Sigma males, the less you care about the narrative others craft about you, the freer and stronger you become. When you're not trying to control the story, you control yourself. You stay unpredictable, uncatchable, and most importantly, untouchable. By refusing to engage in reputation theater, Sigma males rob critics of power. There's no fuel for gossip, no panic to exploit, no damage to repair. They don't need to explain themselves or clarify their intentions because their actions speak on a different level, one that isn't up for debate or spin. Living beyond the reach of public opinion is not arrogance, it's mastery. Sigma males own their truth without apology, even when it's misunderstood. And that freedom, that ability to move through life without begging for acceptance, is one of the most terrifying and magnetic forms of power there is. Number 12. Having a side in everything. In today's world, everyone's expected to pick a side, fast, loud, and often without thinking. Politics, social debates, workplace drama, there's pressure to declare allegiance like it's a moral test. If you stay neutral, you're labeled a coward, indifferent, or worse, complicit. The crowd demands you choose a tribe, wave their flag, and march in step. But Sigma males don't play by these rules. For them, neutrality isn't weakness. It's a calculated move. They don't get caught up in the frenzy of choosing sides because they understand that true power lies in observing the chaos from above. When the world is busy burning bridges and drawing battle lines, Sigma males stand apart, watching, analyzing, waiting for the right moment. They know that picking a side too early makes you a pawn, limits your vision, and traps you in someone else's agenda. Instead, they let both sides exhaust themselves, fueled by their own outrage and infighting. They see the patterns, the rise and fall of power, and the inevitable collapse that comes from blind allegiance. And when the dust settles, they swoop in, not as part of the fire, but as the buyer of ashes. Because from destruction comes opportunity, and Sigma males are always ready to rebuild on their own terms. Their refusal to pick sides isn't apathy, it's strategy at its coldest and smartest. It's a way to stay free from manipulation, preserve autonomy, and position themselves where real leverage happens, in the space between extremes. While everyone else is busy shouting from their camps, Sigma males sit quietly in the no-man's land, untethered and unpressured. They don't need to belong, they don't need validation, they don't need a side. Because the ultimate power isn't in choosing a team, it's in controlling the game. In a world that relentlessly rewards loudness, conformity, and the endless pursuit of external validation, Sigma males carve out a different path, one defined not by spectacle but by silent mastery. They reject the shallow currencies of popularity, hustle porn, and social tribalism, knowing these are distractions designed to keep the masses tethered and predictable. Instead, Sigmas invest their energy in cultivating true power, a power that thrives in solitude, moves fluidly through chaos, and remains utterly indifferent to the fleeting opinions of others. Where most fear unpredictability and cling to comfort zones, Sigma males embrace discomfort as the crucible of growth and transformation. They understand that evolution happens not in the safety of routine, but in the wild unknown. This refusal to play by conventional social scripts makes them misunderstood, often misjudged, and sometimes feared. They don't seek approval or validation through borrowed ideas, emotional hand-holding, or the loudest voice in the room. Their influence is forged through original thought, deliberate action, and a relentless commitment to authenticity. Sigma males don't need to be seen to be powerful. Their presence is felt in the stillness they command, the questions they provoke, and the invisible ripples they create beneath the surface. What sets them apart is not just their independence, but their strategic detachment. They watch the world's polarized battles unfold with quiet calculation, refusing to be pawns in someone else's game. Their neutrality isn't apathy, it's a sophisticated form of control that allows them to thrive while others exhaust themselves in conflict. In this space, beyond sides and stories, they find the freedom to rebuild on their own terms, unburdened by the need to explain, justify, or perform. Ultimately, Sigma males embody a profound paradox. Their greatest strength lies in their deliberate invisibility. They move like ghosts in a world obsessed with noise, leaving behind no breadcrumbs for validation, no cries for attention, only undeniable results and an aura of quiet power. They don't chase the spotlight, they eclipse it, and in doing so, they remind us all that true power is not loud, not flashy, and not dependent on the approval of others. It is something deeper, forged in solitude, tested by chaos, and owned without apology. This is the extraordinary truth few dare to embrace. To be truly powerful is to be free, not just from the world's expectations, but from the very need to be understood by it. Sigma males don't just live outside the system, they transcend it, becoming the silent architects of their own destiny while the world races to catch up. If you found these insights into the mindset of Sigma males as powerful and eye-opening as I did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the deep dives coming your way. Smash the like button if this resonated with you. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or experiences. Let's get a real conversation going. And don't forget to share this video with anyone who's ready to break free from the noise and embrace true independence. Your support helps us keep delivering content that challenges the norm and empowers the unconventional. Thanks for watching.